So we are going to go into our last three innovators. I want to let folks know that the CEO of Striver, they're actually at South by Southwest, which happens to be taking place today, and he's doing a presentation down in Texas. So I am going to bring up the founder and CEO, Eldar Sadikov of Jetlore.
So I don't have any videos. I've listened to all these presentations, and everyone had a video, and I thought, wow, this is going to be tough to wow this crowd. But I have some visuals, I have some slides, and hopefully I can communicate the basic idea behind Jetlore quite easily. So AI is a very hot topic nowadays. I think you hear this word probably way too many times. It's almost, it almost became, lipstick on a pig. It's just everyone talks about it. I think one of the exciting things about AI is that it needs to be applied in a very concrete, vertical-oriented way. And hopefully today you'll see one of the examples of how this could be applied. So first, a little bit behind Jetlore, a little history on us. We're a technical company, so I think a big theme about many companies that came out so far has been that it's technology companies, it's technical companies, and we're pretty much in the same vein. The company was started by 3 PhDs, including myself, and we now have half of our management team have pursued or have finished their doctorate degrees. And we've also been lucky to come out of Stanford, incubated at Stanford, also the founders came out of Stanford, and we got recognized, because of our innovation, our growth. So, I'm very excited to be privileged to be recognized by San Francisco Business Times and Gartner. We're also very lucky to work with some of the larger, mostly retail and consumer businesses out there, including eBay, Nordstrom, JCPenney, and a few others. So, obviously, the basic idea behind Jetlore, I'll get to it in a second, but it's about predicting what consumers will do. And we want to be the company that will predict everything about the consumer. What's the size of the consumer? What is the set of colors that you're gonna choose when you buy shoes or you buy clothes or anything? What sort of brands do you prefer when you buy electronics? That's the kind of thing that we want to accomplish. And we want to do it in a way that will be non-privacy invasive, obviously, to a consumer. And obviously, the idea of prediction or the idea of trying to guess what the consumer is likely to do is not new in the space. And this is just a few examples of the systems that we've all seen maybe. Like, for example, you look at Amazon, and Amazon obviously has a concept of recommendations, and we've been using them, we've been very accustomed to them in the past decade, I would say, where you put something in your shopping cart and then you get products, similar products to what you put in the shopping cart suggested to you. But obviously none of that really makes me feel like the system knows who I am, because that doesn't mean that my size, the colors I like to buy. And one of the biggest hurdles with existing systems is that they support one-to-many relationships. They support this kind of this segment-based style where we try to approximate a human with a group of other humans that look like me versus treating me as a standalone individual with unique attributes about me, with unique things about me, like I like gray color when I buy suits, or I like specific brands, and I'm size medium and I like trim fit, that type of stuff. And what's the basic idea behind Jetlore is really about treating individual consumer as a consumer. So this is me, and what is the set of attributes that uniquely defines me? Why am I buying this item? Why is this important? What's driving my purchases? And not trying to approximate me with just high-level segment and saying, hey, you look like 30-something-year-olds that live in San Mateo. That's not enough. I want to be treated as a standalone individual with my unique preferences and attributes. So at a high level, this is the basic idea behind Jetlore. You have a consumer like Mary. She shops online, pick any of your favorite retailers, Neiman Marcus, Nordstrom, somebody like that. And she comes on site, she goes to the stores on a regular basis, and what we want to know is behind all this data, behind everything that she's doing, what defines her uniquely? Is this, is she petite size? Does she like V-neck and 3/4 sleeve? Does she like cashmere as her favorite material? And what is the set of brands that she feels very loyal to? Those are the examples of things that we want to predict about that consumer and uniquely calculate the exact probability of this consumer having that preference, this consumer likely to buy cashmere versus cotton versus something else. And so the way we do it is a very simplistic, this is a very cartoonish way of how this works, but this gives you an idea of what we're trying to accomplish, is that it kind of gives you an idea of how simple the idea is, but at the same time, when you try to put it into practice, it's actually quite complex. So the basic idea is that every piece of content that's out there, meaning in the product catalog that a retailer or commerce business has a very unique set of attributes about it. Specifically, that dress that you have in the left top corner, it has obviously the brand, it has crew neck, it has cap sleeves. Those are very unique stylistic preferences. The same thing with that pair of shoes. It's no heel, flat shoes, very formal, leather-made, Calvin Klein brand. And then same applies for the bottom two items. Let's say Mary, as a consumer, goes and buys that dress. Naturally, we can say that the attributes of that dress probably describe this consumer, meaning that what this means is that if the woman bought that dress, that means that cap sleeves and foxstrap skirt and crew neck is something that she cares about. And so that's, expected, right? If the woman bought it, there's probably a reason why she bought it. But the question is, which ones are more important? What are the specific things that made her buy it? We can calculate a priori, looking at many, many, many different consumers and looking at their repeated behavior. We can look a priori and say, hey, actually cap sleeves tends to be way more important as an attribute to women than Calvin Klein. She may not be as loyal to the brand, but she actually cares a lot about that specific style of sleeves. And we can associate the probability with that. But then obviously consumers take so many actions online that we need to change the picture of who she is very quickly based on her behavior. So as she starts taking more and more actions online, let's say she looks at a product online like that pair of shoes, now we can get a much more accurate picture about her. We can say, all right, that pair of shoes happens to also share this one attribute with the dress, which happens to be Calvin Klein. So probably Calvin Klein is something that she cares about way more than the cap sleeves. And then we keep doing this over and over again with every action that the consumer is taking, even if she ignores something. Let's say we present to her a scarf, and then she ignores that scarf. Well, that tells us maybe she doesn't care about scarves. Maybe she doesn't care about beige. Maybe she doesn't care about silk, whatever that might be. But that tells us information. And so over time, as we get hundreds of different data points about the consumer, we get in a very accurate representation of who that consumer is and what are the things that really matter to that consumer. And it's done in real time in a sense that within milliseconds, we can update our understanding of who that consumer is and what they're likely to do, what size they're looking for, what style and preferences they care about. And that's what Jetlore is all about. We want to be that prediction company. We want to be that prediction platform that will predict what each consumer is all about, what they're looking for, so that then when we go to our favorite stores, our in-store associate will greet you and will say, hey, I know that you tend to prefer petite size or you tend to prefer plus size, and I know that you like this set of brands, and I know you like blue when it comes to shirts. I have some inventory for you. Or you call a call center and you say, where is my order? And they tell you, listen, and they know who you are and they know what you're likely to buy. And the same thing with on-site, online experience. Every time you're going to go to a site, the site needs to sort all the content for you so that the items that you'll see will fit you, will match your style, will match your size, will match your color preferences. That's the vision we have, and we want this not just for retail, but we want this for any consumer company, whether it's travel, and you're thinking of amenities, what amenities you actually like in hotels, flights, hotels, retail, and media businesses, meaning that you go and read content online. Well, we need to know what you actually going to, what sort of attributes you care about in the content. So why is this important? Obviously, our short-term plan is to cover retail and consumer brands space, and it's important because every retail and consumer brand needs to know its customers. They need to understand and know the customer. Number two is that they need to create relevant experiences, because why should I shop, let's say with Nordstrom versus, Neiman Marcus versus Amazon, is because hopefully one of them knows me very well and they have the assortment that I need, and I can find it, and it's going to be of my size, and it's going to be of my preferences. And that ultimately translates into dollars for those companies, because we don't need thousands of retailers, but each one of them, if each one of them knows us very well, then obviously I'll be much more loyal to them, and I'll actually spend more money with them. And then overall, it just creates better automation, because if I can have a system that can make all these predictions, then I can probably automate a lot of the marketing activities, especially when it comes to geography and especially when it comes to different channels. And so this is just some of the customers we work with. Obviously, a lot of the household brands you're going to recognize, and we're very privileged to work with them. For many of them, we obviously generate, very high uplift in sales and revenue, because if consumers like what they see, they spend more money and they stay on site and they shop more. And just at a high level, just to sum it up, I think that this is a pretty complex slide, I think, for this presentation. But the basic idea is that the applications are very wide here. I gave you some applications, but in-store experience, on-site search, automated email content, automated content of home pages and mobile applications. Those are just some of the examples of the things that you can do with our platform. We're a fast-growing business, growing, doubling every year, and very excited to be here and be recognized at this ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you to Jetlore and Eldar Sadikoff, the CEO.